Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Monday Sam Kieth Day, so we are looking at the next kind of Sam Kieth issue I have in my collection. This is really the last of the Sam Kieth that we're going to see before he moves on to the Max at Image Comics. Before we do that though, really want to talk real quick about On the Road to 250 subs. My humble channel right now, we're hovering around 140, 150 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. But, you know, I've been having a quick look at my analytics, and it seems like only 11% of the views come from my subscribers. The other 89% are from other people that are not subscribed. I was pretty surprised with those numbers. So all of you out there that are checking out the videos, if you don't mind, and you want to help out the channel and you want to get more content coming out and help us push the channel forward, please like and subscribe, like the videos, subscribe to the channel. And that just helps us, you know, pump out more videos and more content for you guys to check out. Back to the comic. So what we're looking at is Marvel Collector's Edition presents Wolverine. This was cover dated in 1992. That's all I really have as far as information there. I'm pretty sure this is like in around or near the end of Sam Kieth's run at Marvel Comics, maybe doing that last bit on Marvel Comics Presents with Venom. But as for the origins of this, right, this box here brought to you by Charleston Chew. I don't know if it was a mail order thing you can get or a promotional item. I don't know exactly. I don't think you could just buy this off the stands, but you know, I ended up getting a copy of it for pretty cheap, and it's got Sam Kieth cover. I made sure there was some Sam Kieth artwork inside, so I was willing to pay for that sucker. Not much, like I said, but I paid for it. So yeah, don't be disappointed though. It's kind of got that Marvel Comics Presents format where I think it's just a 6-page Sam Kieth story. So, you know, this is going to be a pretty quick one because all the other stuff in there's some Nelson artwork I was surprised to find in a Marvel comic, and excuse me, a Ghost Rider story as well, but nothing to write home about. So it is Sam Kieth Day. We're gonna focus on Sam Kieth, starting with the cover. Not any kind of shredded or ripped up costume in this one. I don't know if that was time consuming. I mean, we do have a bit of breakage here, but that's about it. And within the comic, we'll keep an eye out for that, because I feel like maybe you know, typical Sam Kieth ripped thread foam cord kind of texture look, it's probably time consuming, you know, so I feel like this story here was done under a crunch, under a deadline, but it still has, you know, some good Sam Kieth energy to it, maybe a little bit more cartoony than we're used to, a little more simplified, not represented here by the cover, which is great. It's got all those Sam Kieth textures. A few things to look out for: Sam Kieth doesn't stay exactly within the confines of Marvel House style when he draws Wolverine, so there's a few things I'll point out that he changes up a little bit. One of those that we can see on the cover here, I'll mention the others throughout the comic. Actually, two of them. So the gloves kind of coming out like that, like I can accept that, you know, every once in a while Wolverine's gloves are just a little looser, or, you know, in this style that's how it's drawn. That's, you know, cool. He would do this occasionally. He's done it. He does it here. I don't know if he does it on the inside. We'll keep an eye out for that. But I've seen it in other places where he's got like these, like, I'm not quite sure. I'm just confused by this bit. What is that supposed to be? Is that some sort of strap he's got around the leg, or is that a design element to his costume? I've just always thought it was odd. You know, at some point I thought, is it maybe the cast shadows somehow of the claws? But there's only 2, not 3. Very confused about these 2 lines here. I think the artwork's great. The whole thing works. Just, this is a mystery to me, and I would, if anyone has the answers, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts on what the heck this is, but still a great, awesome Sam Kieth piece of artwork. Let's crack her open, have a look at this fairly short story. So who do we got here? Richard Howell plot, Larry Hama script, Sam Kieth art, Ken Lopez letters, and Joe Rosas is color. So we've got Wolverine and Jubilee, and from what I can ascertain here, they're basically trying to fix the Danger Room. There's been an issue, I guess, with the Danger Room. If anyone out there who doesn't know what the Danger Room is, real quick, it's, you know, the X-Men is a school, and they have a training kind of center where they go to hone their skills, their mutant powers, where I'm not sure if it's holographic or it's like robotic. It's a mix of both. They basically fight against other creatures, either holographic or real, to train and learn how to fight as a unit. It is the Xavier School, right? So we got some good Sam Kieth stuff here, good Sam Kieth texture. Like I said, a little simplified maybe as to what we're used to as far as detail, but I'm okay with that. Looks great. Always got those bold kind of outlines and contours. I like those interesting textures on the costume. The arm hair we've mentioned before for Sam Kieth is awesome when he does Wolverine, as weird as that sounds, you know. Yeah, and he always does that very wide kind of paneling I copied the way he draws Wolverine's face for a while. For a while, his was pretty much the version I thought was the coolest. I still think it's very cool, but it's not necessarily the iconic kind of Wolverine look. I do feel in here, though, it's a little toned down overall as compared to other Sam Kieth, especially in Marvel Comics Presents. So it's, keeping it simple, very basic storytelling, quick drawing, but there's an energy to it. There's that Sam Kiethness that's awesome. This is a great panel here, right? So again, these two lines that appear, he's got it on this thigh here as well. What is that? I have no idea. He's got it here too. You got to think those are straps or something, right? That's what I would assume. So here's an example of a panel, not up to the usual level of detail and texture, excuse me, on a Sam Kieth piece or a comic book, maybe like what we're used to in the panel here. But Sam Kieth does have that habit of sometimes kind of being very illustrative and textural in one panel. And I really like this broken up border like that. Very cool. And then very cartoony and simple in other panels, right? I guess for clarity's sake. I mean, it is very clear what's going on stuff. I can't say that I mind it, but it was a bit off-putting at first when I encountered Sam Kieth on the Max. Like sometimes the level of drawing, right? Sometimes he draws very illustratively, very academically, and sometimes it gets cartoony or even, I don't want to say amateurish, but like thrown out quickly, but which can be cool, and which definitely can affect the story in positive ways and get certain messages across, emotions and things in your plot line or with your characters. So it took some getting used to, right? I was used to comics that kind of had the same level of drawing all the way through and it never kind of wavered and stuff. So he's kind of, I think I mentioned it before, he's kind of like the first kind of odd man out style that I encountered, right? So at the time when I was a kid, there had been the Marvel House style, right? So then the Image guys, started doing their stuff at Marvel and they were kind of the odd men out, but they became the norm, right? And even within that, Sam Kieth was very different from them, right? So this is super cool. Double page splash. I can never say that. So I don't know what to say here. You got all the same Sam Kiethisms. We got these straps again around his thigh. Oh, I do want to mention and go back real quick just because I noticed. Yeah, here he adds like a bit of texture to imply there's maybe almost like a belt or some sort of buckle, but I'm not getting any answers. And also these are the first few shots on these pages where we see Wolverine's boots. And for some reason, Sam Kieth just does not care or give a fuck at all about Wolverine's boots. I guess he doesn't like drawing them or doesn't like the design. How, basically Wolverine's boots, when you see them usually, almost reproduce the shape of his head, right? So it's like his boots and his head have kind of the same shape. It's a little bit ridiculous, but it's comic books, so we didn't really pay that much attention to it. I guess graphically it kind of makes sense, right, with superhero elements and stuff. But on this page, we're noticing that nothing to do with the boots, like not even a demarcation. This is the colorist who added in, just kind of a generic superhero boot. None of the kind of, pointed, I don't know what you'd call those, flanges or something, or boot collar, right? That we usually associate with Wolverine. Nor does he do it here, right? It's like he almost on purpose somehow avoids drawing most of the boot. Here it's in shadow. Here he just added kind of a few hatching lines for a bit of shading, no demarcation. Here, kinda, he came back with some white medium and the colorist added in like the brownish kind of hue for the boot here, but I mean, it's not very well defined. And I wonder why. It's just odd. It's something he does a lot. Anyone out there have any answers? Let me know. Here, clearly defined all of a sudden, but just nothing to do with the Wolverine's usual boots. Just your regular kind of brown, generic superhero boots. He also draws the belt very thick around his waist, where it almost doesn't look like a belt. Looks like maybe a towel. Just odd and strange choices, but they make his characters interesting, right? And all these kind of textures that Sam Kieth uses, like various different lines, which I always thought was interesting, what he's doing here, right? There's like a rhythm to his line. and doing a bit of splatter, right? Some Sam Kieth, he'll go crazier with that later on, but like all these great textures in the background, I think, just really make this shot here. And of course, what 100% makes the shot is the Sam Kieth kind of, version of the Danger Room becoming active, or, AI becoming aware and attacking Wolverine. That seems to be what's happening here. It's that kind of storyline, right? Back in the day, where now it's almost, almost reality. Not sure they're going to look like this, though. Obviously gone through Sam Kieth's twisted filter. Once again, if we're talking about texture and stuff, the wiring here, he's done a bit of the phone cord, spaghetti cord thing here. I love kind of the reflections he creates on the cybernetic arm here, on the metal textures, right? Quite different from the other Image guys. More hatching, illustrative hatching, I guess. Hatching that, to me, with Sam Kieth makes a little more sense texturally and with light and shade than with some of the Image guys. And when I say the Image guys, I'm not talking about the original creators, but then the guys underneath, the guys who worked for the studios and stuff like that, right? They weren't doing it with that original, or using the texture with that original intent that maybe a Sam Kieth would. They were copying what other guys were doing and not necessarily understanding 100% why they were doing a certain thing, right? So some of that would shine through in the art. But Sam Kieth, I've talked about this before, is an academic, or can be an academic illustrative artist, right? He's like, he knows how to do it. It's just around this period he's talked about, right? He kind of felt a bit of pressure, funny enough, to change his style to be more exciting and more 90s, if you will, to kind of go along with the Image guys, right? So this is kind of Sam Kieth, who's a great illustrative, learned artist, academic, kind of, I don't want to say slumming it, but doing like, his version of Image style, right? Which I think is awesome. It's like one of the coolest versions of Image style, because if you didn't know all that, it's not particular to Image style. It's really distinctive. It's Sam Kieth style. That's why I love his art so much. Love distinctive artists, right? Good storytelling. Lots of panels on this page, right? But making it interesting with the diagonals, keeping it moving. Great kind of face here, almost kind of Transformers inspired, I guess. If we go back a little bit, doesn't he have a bit of Megatron in him, right? The crooked teeth here, the kind of almost, well, here he's got an underbite, right? But similar shapes to the Max's head, he's moving that direction. These are things he likes to draw, I assume, right? Even this shot here, like I remember in the Cyber issue, right? The same kind of textures showing up here again, right? That he uses. Bit of cartooniness, right? With the movement lines. And here, I really like, okay, first of all, he's using the 90s vertical panels, which is awesome. If done well. He's framing the right moment. So he sees that, Jubilee's been kind of knocked out here. He's kind of groggy. So he gets angry. We've got a fair amount of detail and texture here. And then as we close in, get it closer, we get even more of it, right? Which I think is awesome. And then this is like just a smorgasbord of, Sam Kieth textures. In here, we've got more the Bernie Wrightson stuff that Kelly Jones does as well. I find like this is akin to some Jelly Jones. Kelly Jones stuff. Then you get the Sam Kieth, kind of, finicky texture in here. And then he would do this thing too, where you get kind of a circular, like almost beads, or it almost looks like those guys who get studs and stuff implanted under their skin, right? I know it's not meant to be that necessarily for Wolverine, but it just adds an extra kind of texture to the frown and to the anger of it all. Like it works, even though it's kind of gross. I think if your forehead actually did that, you'd think maybe this is like a series of pimples or something. I'm not quite sure, but I think it looks cool. He does it on the Max as well, right? Good old spittle between the teeth. That always makes your character look even more savage and angrier. And, we talked about Wolverine's arm hair. Also the facial hair, very well done. Some highlights added down here. I think that's clever. Yeah, there's just something in here that I find has got a good mix of a bit of Kelly Jones into it, which is cool. And even these kind of textures you would never think to use on lips and the folds of the skin, but he goes for it and it totally works. Totally works. Broken up border, which is awesome. Very thick. Some sound effects. This is a quick bit of storytelling. You don't have to show any of what happened in this next imaginary panel, right? It's also comics code, so you can't do too much, I guess, even though this is just a computer AI robot come to life. And you get the after effect of, you know, not having to show all that, and just the minimal amount here. Quickly draw on this last page of some of that spaghetti thread bear costume that Sam Kieth does. Spend a bit more time on the arm hair. I like the grittiness of it. All of this is interesting. I feel like that's more from like an underground kind of tradition, which I think works here. More shadows on the boots so he doesn't have to draw them. And I guess this is what's left of our AI Danger Room robot here. And a little later on, just a few couple panels to, you know, show us the Jubilee. You know, she's all right. She, I guess, broke her ankle or her leg or something. But everything's going to be all right. And this is pretty much, I think, Sam Kieth's send-off for Marvel Comics. One of the last things he did. That's where the story ends. So before I go, though, I do want to mention, because as I said, the next episode is going to focus on the Max. Well, and Sam Kieth working at Image, because at this time, just kind of an interesting fact, with this issue, with those last few issues that I've reviewed before that he did for Marvel Comics Presents with the Venom Wolverine Venom storyline and the Max, it seems like he was working on all this stuff concurrently. 1992, right, is the date here. And not just for Marvel, not just for Image, but he also, in around that time, had been doing a buttload of work for DC and doing some of the covers for Batman and the Nightfall storyline, right? A pre-Nightfall and during Nightfall. So I just thought I'd go through a few of those because it's just kind of crazy to think that this artist, I don't know how many artists can claim that in around that time or even ever of working concurrently at DC, Marvel, and Image Comics, right? So we know that Eric Larson was doing some Marvel stuff and then some Savage Dragon stuff in around the same time, but I think Sam Kieth is the only one who's working basically for all three of those companies, which is interesting. So I just thought we'd take a few quick looks at some of the DC covers I have. I don't have all of them, but just to finish off the video here, we've got the 1992 annual Robin, the first Robin annual, so that is nothing to do with Sam Kieth on the inside, but this is a Sam Kieth cover. Interesting cape on Robin, obviously very huge. You'd probably trip over that or get hurt pretty quickly with a cape like that, but it looks cool. And you know, you get a lot of the Sam Kieth leg tropes, bent over. The pose itself is very Sam Kieth, and basically this is Robin, you know him, and this is the villain of the annual Anarchy. Love the Sam Kiethish cartoony hand here. And that's about it for this cover. We've got a few more. So this one, I feel like a lot of these are dashed out pretty quickly. I do love them. I think they're great. But again, it was showing me when I was looking at Sam Kieth artwork as a kid that, you know, again, those different levels you can work at, you know, make it cartoonier, dirtier, grittier, faster. It might not be as slick as some of the other stuff on the stands, but there's some energy and power in that, and these different textures that he throws in there that I think really works, and I really appealing, and again, very different, very distinctive. So that's another example here. Lots of black too on this one. Very menacing what's going on here, right? Could be misconstrued in all sorts of bad ways. Great cover, right? This is during the Nightfall storyline. Also, okay, so this is 1993. So I guess that's in around the time of Marvel Comics Presents, the Max, and this stuff here. Okay, so Robin, the annual was a bit earlier. And I'm just going to finish off with this one, which is also from 1993. Just because, again, how far you can push it into, you know, almost abstraction. Like, to me, when I look at this, I have to ask myself, did Sam Kieth do this in color? Is this just basically a painting? I don't think it is. I could be wrong, but I feel like he was still kind of working his gritty black and white style where he comes back with like the eyes here, the teeth, this contour here, if you're thinking black and white terms, was all done with him coming back with white and creating these contours for the arms. I feel like he probably even painted in the white for the fingers here. Like, he worked very fast, and there's just something so compelling about this cover and the wide shoulders, and again, just the chaos of it. I think this is a great cover, and it's so dirty and it's so far away from superhero comics aesthetics that were kind of established, right? So again, so different, so distinctive, almost like an Arkham Asylum kind of quality to it. Dave McKean, in a weird way, Bill Sienkiewicz, I think is how you say his name, is mentioned a lot with some of Sam Kieth's work as well. I can see some of that here. But yeah, there's just something very compelling about this Batman by Sam Kieth, and whoever did the colors, if that's how it worked, if it was black and white and then someone did colors on that, kudos, because I think this cover just looks great. Just well balanced and just, yeah, great cover. So that's where we're going to leave you today. Just to refresh your memory, today's episode was mostly focused on Marvel Collector's Edition presents Wolverine. The Big Baby reviews is on the road to 250 subs. We talked about that at the beginning. So please, if you enjoy the videos and you enjoy watching them, 89% of you are not subscribed. So please feel free to do so and help out the channel, help us grow. And I hope everyone out there who's been watching the videos has an awesome day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.